Have you ever felt like time is simply slipping through your fingers? Like you reached the end of a full day with the nagging impression that despite doing many things, you didn't actually live anything that truly mattered. Maybe you blame the exhausting routine, the endless commitments, or your lack of energy. Maybe you think the problem lies in the circumstances around you. But the truth, as Seneca warned, is far deeper and far more uncomfortable. What's being wasted isn't just time, it's your life. Yes, you might be breathing, working, socializing, but still be far from what it truly means to live. The difference between merely existing and actually living is subtle but devastating when ignored. In this video, we'll talk about one of the greatest luxuries of the human experience: time. Not the time on the clock, not the hours on your schedule, but time as an experience, as real life slipping away while you stay busy with what doesn't transform you, doesn't build anything, and doesn't bring any meaning. You'll see how often you treat this rare and precious resource as if it were disposable. You hand over your time to randomness, to distractions, to the will of others while postponing what truly matters. The time has come to take this seriously, to face the waste of time for what it truly is: a silent form of self-abandonment. From now on, we'll reflect together on what lies behind this unconscious surrender to emptiness. With Seneca's wisdom, we'll seek the path back to what truly matters. The lie. We tell ourselves. How many times have you mentally repeated phrases like, "I'll do it later," "I'll start next Monday," "One day I'll make it happen"? These phrases seem harmless, but they are traps disguised as comfort. They're mental shortcuts we use to justify our paralysis. It's as if pushing life into the future were a gesture of care, when in fact it's a silent pact with stagnation. Seneca, 2,000 years ago, had already identified this pattern and warned us firmly: life is long enough for great accomplishments, if we know how to make good use of it. The problem isn't time. The problem is how we choose to spend that time. And more than that, the problem is the false sense of security that there will always be more time. We live as if life were infinite, as if we had a secret reserve of days, months, and years hidden away in some invisible vault, ready to be used when we finally decide to start living for real. A powerful reflection. You don't lack time, you lack direction, and that's a brutal difference. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. The question is how each of us allocates, prioritizes, protects, and uses that time. Think about your day-to-day life. How many hours do you spend on your phone, scrolling aimlessly, consuming content that adds nothing to your life? How many times have you delayed that personal project, that goal, that course, that dream, claiming you don't have time? Now imagine this. If someone told you that you only had 24 hours left to live, what would change in your routine? You'd turn off your phone. You'd call someone important. You'd hug the ones you love. Maybe you'd start writing, creating, moving differently. Maybe you'd say words you've never had the courage to say. The question is, why are we waiting for the shock of death to start valuing the miracle of life? Why do we postpone what should be non-negotiable? This illusion of future time is a sweet poison. It delays our dreams, numbs our courage, and keeps us busy with what's urgent, while the essential is left for tomorrow, and that tomorrow might never come. Life doesn't wait, time doesn't rewind, and what you push into the future is, in practice, something you're choosing to abandon in the present. Seneca spoke with clarity and firmness. Men do not allow their possessions to be taken from them, but they allow their time to be taken. That line, written centuries ago, has never been more relevant. We live in an era where every second is battled over by notifications, demands, and distractions. Every instant can be turned into consumption, obligation, or noise, and yet we keep giving away the most valuable thing we have as if it were something ordinary, as if time were recyclable. The truth is, we fiercely protect what we consider valuable. We lock our doors, password protect our devices, track our belongings, and secure our bank accounts. But when it comes to time, most people surrender it without the slightest resistance. Unnecessary meetings, conversations that build nothing, hours draining away on social media, watching other people's lives while your own remains on hold. You don't notice it, but every time you say yes to something meaningless, you're saying no to what truly matters. And here's the scariest part. No one is going to give that time back to you. It won't return. It can't be recovered. It can't be stored. Time is the only asset that, once lost, is gone forever. And yet it's the one we waste the most. There's a popular metaphor. A stopped clock is right twice a day. But someone who lives stuck, postponing, drowning in distractions, won't even get the direction of their life right. Your existence wasn't made to be filled. It was made to be lived. It's not about passing time. It's about making every moment count. Think now about your deepest desires. Maybe you dream of starting a business. Maybe you want to write a book, travel, study something new, or completely change your path. And what do you tell yourself? It's not the right time. Now's just not possible. I'll deal with that later. But if not now, then when? Who promised you that you'd have a later? Most people live under the illusion that they'll have time to spare in the future. But the future doesn't exist yet. All you really have is the now, today, and if you don't take control of this now, the world will keep occupying every space you don't defend. You need to take ownership of your time. You need to say enough to what steals your attention and drains your days. You need to treat time the way it deserves to be treated, with reverence, with discipline, and with awareness, because no one will do it for you. And in the end, the only thing you'll truly have is what you did with the time you were given. According to Seneca, one of the greatest human tragedies is not death itself, but the life that was neglected. He stated with sharpness and precision, "Part of life we pass by badly, another part not well at all, and the whole of it we pass preoccupied with things that don't matter." These words aren't just criticism, they are a mirror that forces us to confront the way we've been living, or worse, the way we've stopped living. We stay so busy, buried in tasks, appointments, distractions, and obligations, that we forget to stop and ask the most important question of all. Does this make sense? Is this thing that consumes me taking me where I truly want to be? Here comes a hard question, one that few dare to answer honestly. Are you living or just existing? To exist is to move through your days like they're burdens. It's to function, to be physically present but emotionally absent. It's to wake up tired, move through inertia, fill the hours with noise, and repeat. To live, on the other hand, is to be conscious of what you're doing. It's to choose. It's to build. It's to know that each day can be a creation, not just another number on the calendar. Modern society glorifies busyness. People who are always rushing seem more important. Those who don't have time seem more valuable. But Seneca teaches us to question that appearance. Because being busy is not the same as being productive. Constant motion doesn't mean progress. You can spend your whole life running, in circles. Being busy is easy. Anyone can fill their day with tasks. What's hard is being involved in something that truly matters. Something that builds, that transforms, that leaves a legacy. Think about the stories you've heard from older people. People who've reached 70, 80 years of age and say with a lump in their throat, "If I could go back, I'd do things differently." These phrases, though common, carry deep pain. They reflect a life lived halfway, or worse, a life lived for others, for expectations, for external pressures. Now think, why would you need to get there to feel that regret? Why wait to lose vitality, the years, the chances, to finally realize that time was all you ever had? You don't have to repeat that cycle. You can choose right now to change your course. You can turn your days into more than just survival. With awareness and courage, you can begin to live with presence, with purpose, with intensity. The worst kind of death is not the one that comes at the end. It's the one that happens while you're still alive. When the soul goes silent, when dreams are shelved, when days go by and you no longer feel anything. And the most dangerous part is, this can happen slowly, so slowly you don't even notice. That's why this is a call to wake up, a call to clarity. Because there's still time, you're here, you're breathing, and that alone is an opportunity. Seneca said we should live each day as if it were an entire life. That's not just a nice phrase. It's a philosophy. It's an invitation to see the value in every sunrise as if it were unique. Because in fact, it is. What you do today is carving out the person you'll be tomorrow. And if you don't take ownership of your time, sooner or later you'll find yourself ruled by the choices of others. But where do you start? How do you break the cycle of distraction, procrastination, and automatic living? The answer lies in small shifts in attitude that, when done consistently, have the power to completely transform the way you live. Coming up, 5 practical tools to help you regain control over your own existence. 1. Set boundaries with those who steal your time. Learn to say no. Saying no isn't rude, it's being conscious. You don't have to accept every invitation, respond to every message immediately, or be available all the time. Your life is not a public marketplace, it's sacred ground. And your peace begins when you learn to set boundaries. Life truly begins when you start saying no to what doesn't serve you. Saying no to what drains you, to what distracts, to what doesn't build anything is the first step towards saying yes to what really matters. 2. Schedule what's essential, not what's urgent. Most people live putting out fires. They wake up in a rush, deal with whatever is most urgent, complete tasks, and end the day exhausted, without doing anything that brings them closer to their true dreams. What you keep postponing is probably what matters most. Writing a book, starting therapy, launching a new project, moving to a different city, taking care of yourself. These things don't shout, but they wait, quietly, and the more you postpone them, the more life slips away. Schedule what is essential, even if it's not urgent. That changes everything. 3. Create a ritual of presence. The way you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up and immediately dive into notifications, emails, news, and external demands, you begin the day disconnected from yourself, and that comes at a high emotional cost. Try the opposite. Start the day with yourself. Create a small ritual. It could be a quiet coffee, a short reading, a prayer, a few minutes of conscious breathing. The form doesn't matter. What matters is that for a few minutes you are whole, present. Before you give yourself to the world, be with you. 4. Take weekly inventory. Sunday isn't just the end of the week, it can be a mirror. Set aside a few minutes for a simple but powerful practice. Ask yourself honestly, what did I do in the past 7 days that was truly worth it? What brought you peace? What made you proud? What pulled you away from yourself? This small reflection has the power to reorient your path week after week. It's not about perfection, it's about awareness. 5. Put death into the equation. This might sound heavy, but it's freeing. Honestly, imagine that you have only 1 year left to live. How would you live? What would change immediately? Whose approval would you stop chasing? What choices would you make with courage? Thinking about death isn't morbid. It's lucid. It's a way of waking up to the urgency of life. Too often we put off things that can only be lived now. And when we finally wake up, the time is already gone. Death teaches us that time isn't guaranteed, and that the only way to honor life is to live it with presence, intention, and courage. Seneca wasn't an enemy of pleasure, as many believe. His critique was never about enjoying life, but about how it is often lived unconsciously, hastily, and automatically. To him, life shouldn't be a sequence of empty acts, but a conscious creation. where each moment is a brushstroke on the larger canvas of our existence. One quote summarizes this philosophy well. "A happy life is one that is in harmony with reason." That means true happiness isn't found in excess or in escapism, but in balance. Living with pleasure is healthy, but living with meaning is essential. And meaning is born from clarity, from deliberate choice, from the conscious use of time. Today, many live as if rehearsing for a life that hasn't started yet. They are always preparing, always waiting for the perfect moment, always waiting for more time, more money, more confidence. And in the meantime, life goes by. Pause for a moment and think, how many times have you told yourself that someday you'd write that book, that you'd call that important person, that you'd start that course, that journey, that new path, but that someday never has a date? And without realizing it, you turn your life into endless preparation. You spend years getting ready to live, but you don't live. Seneca proposes a radical shift in mindset. Life doesn't begin when everything is ready, because that moment where everything is perfectly aligned may never come. There will always be something unfinished, a doubt, a bill to pay, a situation out of place. Life begins when you decide not to waste a single second more, when you understand that it's possible to write the book in the middle of chaos, that it's possible to make the call even if you're scared, that it's possible to start the course even without knowing how it will end. Time won't wait for you, and if you wait for it, you'll reach the end with a blank canvas. Your life is a work in progress, and every choice, no matter how small, is a stroke on the final painting. You can keep reacting to the world, or you can start creating. That's the difference between living as a spectator and living as an artist. And time, when lived with intention, stops being a burden and becomes raw material. It's no longer something that gets lost, it becomes something that gets transformed. There's a question from Seneca that has echoed across the centuries and still confronts us today like an unsettling mirror held up to the soul. Are you living or just waiting to die? This question, simple in form, is devastating in substance. Because it doesn't call for a theoretical answer, it calls for a moment of self-examination. It forces us to honestly look at how we've been spending our days. And the answer isn't in words, it's in our actions. It's in how you wake up, in how you start your day, in where you place your attention, in whom you choose to spend your time with, in which projects you nurture and which dreams you've abandoned. Truly living isn't about waiting for everything to fall into place, for things to improve, or for the world to change. It's about acting despite the chaos. It's choosing what's worthwhile even when everything feels uncertain. It's having the courage not to waste the little time you have on what doesn't build, doesn't transform, doesn't illuminate. You can keep postponing, you can keep waiting for Monday, for next month, for next year, for that elusive stability that never seems to arrive. But you can also decide that you've waited long enough. You can realize that your life doesn't begin when everything is ready. It begins when you take the risk to truly live it, when you stop merely surviving and start actually existing. It's not the clock that defines whether you're alive. It's how you use your minutes. It's the intensity, the presence, the commitment with which you live each moment. The now might seem small, but it's the only place where life truly happens. The future is a promise, the past a memory. Only the present is real, so don't leave for tomorrow what's screaming inside you today. Don't bury another day in the grave of procrastination. Don't live waiting, live deciding. A well-lived life doesn't need to be long, it needs to be true, and that begins now. Now that you've made it this far, I want to offer you a moment of truth. Nothing changes if you just watch. Nothing transforms if you simply consume the content and go back to your routine as if nothing had touched you. So, take a deep breath, look inward, and answer honestly, what have you been postponing for months? That important conversation, the decision you know you need to make, the project that lives inside you but never leaves the page. What would you start today if you knew you didn't have all the time in the world? This question isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to remind you that you still have time, but not infinite time. You have enough time, if you choose to use it with courage. Write your answer in the comments, not for others, but for you, because putting into words what's trapped inside may be the first step in turning thought into action. And if this video resonated with you, share it. Maybe someone close to you is living on autopilot and needs this urgent reminder: life doesn't wait.